So what I want to talk about today is moving to the objects by dragging them around with the mouse button. Okay, but we'll start with a simple example. Okay, so let me show you. We have these guys in the scene, and we can drag them around by clicking on them. And after that, I will show you a more advanced version of this. So see, we can just drag these around by clicking and holding. Okay, so let's look at this script, the simple version first. Okay. This will be a bit more complex than what we discussed in the past, but I'll try my best to explain it. So in this script, the simple version, we have just three things that we need. Okay, we have a variable of type GameObject that will hold the object that we're moving. Okay, and then we have a layer mask. Okay, so this is basically used for targeting specific physics layers because we only want to move certain objects. In this case, if you see here, these guys in the scene have the layer clickable, so I made a physics layer for those. So we only target those with that layer. And then we have a vector that this is the mouse position. We save the mouse position in that variable. So here in this if statement, we do stuff if the mouse is pressed down. So at the moment that the mouse is pressed down, we try to get an object and save it. Okay, so we get first what we need is the mouse position in world space. Okay, so we take the mouse position and then convert it to world space. Yeah, and we make sure that the z in that vector 3 is 0. Then we do something called the raycast. So I discussed that in the past. Raycast basically is a collider in the shape of a line that exists one frame and you use it to detect stuff. Okay. So this ray has a length here. We make a float for the length. And then we make a variable of type raycast hit to this. So this will save the information about the ray if it hits something. And then we say it's equal, and then here we create that ray. So the first parameter here is the position. So where do we start that ray? Where do we spawn it? Okay. So that is the mouse position, obviously, and then this is the direction. In this case, we want it to be exactly at that point. So we say vector to 0, and then even though this is a point, you have to give it a length. I tried in the past, and if you do not specify a length, it will not work. So you have to give it some length. And then the last part here is the layer, because we only want to target that specific layer, the clickable layer. So with this, we only target objects that are in that layer. But before we continue, you must know that to target something with array, you need to have a collider. So these guys here in the scene have a box collider on them, and it works with both physics or not. So in this case, the physics are disabled. You see the is trigger property is checked. So these do not have physics. So we create the array and then we verify if we hit something. Okay, so hit collider means if we collide, this will be different than null if you collided with something. So if we collide with something, then obviously that is a clickable object, and we save it in our variable here. So the current object becomes the object that we collided with. Okay, and then this part here we move it if we have an object in that variable. So if the current object is different than null, in other words, if we are holding an object, then every frame here we get the mouse position in world space, and then move that object to the mouse position here. So you see current object transform position is equal mouse position. And then when we release the mouse, we have to change that object to null. So we stop this movement here. Okay, so that's the simple version. Let's look at that more advanced version. So let me show you what this is first. So we have these pieces here made of blocks, and we want to place these on the terrain below the brown tile map. Okay, so you see if I stop if I release the mouse now, this should snap in place. You see, so these snap in place wherever you put them. Obviously, you cannot put one on top of another. You see, it does not work. So first of all, before I show you the script, let me explain the logic. Okay, so on each square of this tile map below, we have a play. We have something called a piece holder. Okay, so this is just a collider that will let us know if a piece is there or not. So we have a script for that attached to that. It's very simple. It's just a bool, okay, that will represent if there is a piece on that collider or not. So by default it's false because there's no piece on the by default. And you can, so let me show you. If I play the scene, we'll have a bunch of holders here. Okay, so you see here in the hierarchy we have a bunch. So if I select all of these, you should see them in the scene with a green outline. So we have these colliders here, and you can do it manually, but I don't recommend doing this manually. I made a script for that to create these colliders, to spawn these colliders. We won't go into that. I will just shortly show you that. So this is a function to create that. So if you're familiar with two-dimensional arrays, this should make sense. But I will send you the script so you can, not the script, but the whole project to download it. And I won't go into this, but this is how it looks like. So this will be a bit more complicated. We have some other variables here. For example, we have a layer for the holders, and then we have a separate layer for the objects, the clickable objects here. And this one here, you can ignore that. That's for spawning those colliders. Yeah, you can ignore this. Actually, this is just for spawning that those colliders on the tile map. So let's look at the logic. So when we click, so mouse button down, left click. This happens once when the mouse is pressed down, so not continuously. So the same, we get the mouse position in word space. We raycast to see if there's an object at the mouse position. And if there is one, then we save it. But this time you see we do not save the object that we collided with. We save the parent. And why that is because these pieces are made of parts. So when we raycast, we hit a part, a children of that piece. Okay, so we need the whole parent to move all of them. So to move all of the parts. So here we save the parent of the object that we collided with. And then when we take a piece, we want to make sure that the holders below now become that bool inside the script of the holders becomes false. So the squares are no longer on those holders. So what we do here is for each block of that piece, we raycast below on the holder below. Okay, for each one, and then we change the bool in that holder to false. So that means the holders below the piece, the blocks do not longer hold a piece, or I should call this. Now I'm looking at this, and it should be called a block, not a piece. But so that's what we do: make that bool false. And then here, if you are holding an object, okay, so if current object is different than null, this will we get the mouse position in world space, and then we just move it to that. It's the same as the simple version, so we just move it to the mouse position But then the complicated part is here when we release. When we release it, we want to snap those squares in place on top of the holders. Okay. So what we do is we create a bool here called can place. So this will represent if we can or not to place that piece on top of the holders. So the first thing we have to have we have to know where we place those pieces. Okay, so we have an array of positions here, and the length of that array is how many blocks we have on in that piece. Okay, so for each piece we know where to place those. Sorry, for each block we know where to place that block with this, and then we have the scripts of the placeholders uh, where we place that those blocks. Okay, so the holder, we have an array of the holders below, and right now there's nothing inside of this. These are just empty arrays. Okay, so now we go for each square. Okay, so from 0 to the child count of that piece. So for, in other words, for each block, and then we raycast below. We raycast below that block. Okay, and then we check if we collided with something. Okay, then we save the piece holder below into that array that we have, and then the this is the position. So where we place that block. But if that holder below is occupied, okay, um, then that means we
Sorry for being late. Can I join?
yeah, sure, but keep yourself keep yourself muted. Okay, yes. So we check if the piece that holder below, so the piece holder below our block is empty. Okay, so in this case it has a piece. If it has a piece, so it's not empty, then we change that bool can place to false. Okay, and break means this means we exit this for loop. We exit the for loop because we don't have to go further. We cannot place the piece if there's already a block there. Okay, and then here else. So if we if one of the blocks did not have holder below, then again we cannot place it. So we make that bool false and we exit the for. So in other words, I will say that again. We raycast below each block and check if there is a holder, and also if that holder is empty. And if that is the case, then we can place it. If not, we cannot place it. So after we verify if you can place it with this logic, we check if we can place or not using that bool. So if we can place it, we place it. So that means we take each block and place it on the position that we save, and we must make sure to make that holder, that bool in that holder true. So now we know that those holders are occupied. Okay, and obviously at the end we make our piece null, so we're no longer holding a piece. Okay, so I will explain it one more time, and then that will be for today. So when we click, we get the object. Okay, I will just explain the logic, and I will send the code. I will send you a project to look at the code later. So the logic is when we press, when we click left click, we get the object, the whole piece, and then we make the holders below the piece. We make those not occupied, so they're empty now. And then while we're holding, we just teleport it to the mouse position, the piece. And when we release the mouse button, we check if you can place it. So in other words, if every block of the piece is on top of a holder, and also the holders must be empty. Okay. And if that is the case, then we place it. So we place each block on the holder below, and then we say that those holders now are occupied. Okay, so that will be everything for today. Thank you very much, guys.